Do you really want to grow old depending on whether someone feels like calling you, visiting you, or taking care of you as if they were doing you a favor? Because that's the trap many people buy into without realizing it. They confuse company with salvation, family with a guarantee, having people with being safe. And when life tightens, when the body changes, when plans fall apart, they discover too late that what truly holds you up is not who surrounds you, but who you are when you're left alone with yourself. Stay with me. Gabriel here. Welcome to the Stoic Garden. Today we're going to walk through 9 principles for living happily and strongly in old age, not as pretty theory, but as rules of character that make you steady, respectable and at peace, even when the world no longer applauds you. By the end, you'll have a clear compass for aging with calm, energy and inner freedom. And the last principle is the one that places the crown on your head without asking anyone's permission. Let's begin. 1. Accept the passage of time with serenity. This sounds simple until you see yourself in a photo and don't recognize your own face, until a knee reminds you that you're no longer built for improvising, until the world begins to treat you like an old piece of furniture that's in the way. And that's where most people do what they always do. They start fighting the inevitable, as if time were a rival you could humiliate. Look, aging isn't the problem. The problem is aging with resentment, aging while denying it, aging with that silent anger of feeling that life is taking something away from you, when in reality it's charging what it has always charged. Time doesn't betray you, it simply does its job. The one who betrays himself is you, when you cling to a past version of yourself and turn every change into a personal humiliation. Serenity isn't putting on a saintly face and saying, nothing's wrong. Serenity is looking reality straight in the eye and not breaking inside. It's understanding that some things won't come back, and still continuing to walk with dignity, without bitterness, without punishing others for your fear. Because yes, many people in old age aren't difficult because of their character. They're difficult because they're scared, and instead of admitting it, they disguise it as bad temper. Marcus Aurelius, who was an emperor but also a man who got sick, grew tired and lost people, repeated a brutally simple idea to himself. Everything you see changes quickly and will soon cease to exist. Get used to seeing each thing as part of a continuous flow. He didn't say it to sound philosophical. He said it so he wouldn't lose his mind, so he wouldn't demand permanence from a world that runs on change. When you accept the passage of time, you stop wasting energy on appearances. You stop acting as if your value lies in looking young, fast, desirable, relevant, and you begin playing the game you can actually win, being solid, being clear, being the owner of yourself. Because one thing is getting older, and another is collapsing inside every time something changes. There's something no one explains to you. Old age forces your masks off. You can't hold the character for that long anymore. If your identity was your looks, your status, your role as a provider, your role as the tireless mother or father, sooner or later it loosens. And then the real question appears and corners you. Who are you when you can't impress anyone? Accepting time also means making peace with your decisions, not to applaud everything you did, but to stop living while punishing yourself. Because there are people who reach old age and are still arguing with their 30-year-old self. They still want to rewrite history, still asking life for a second chance that has already moved on. That's not living, that's chewing the past. Serenity in old age shows up in small things, in how you talk about your body without insulting yourself, in how you let go of the need to prove something, in how you stop competing with people who could be your son or daughter, as if life were evaluating you in an endless race. No one is evaluating you. The one wearing himself out is you. Accept the passage of time with serenity, because that is the first act of real strength. It isn't surrender. It's stopping the loss of useless wars so you can focus on what still depends on you, your character, your habits, your way of looking at the world. And when you do that, you age differently, not like someone fading away, but like someone becoming clearer. 2. Discipline your body and your energy, not to look good, but to avoid dependence. Because old age does not forgive negligence, it charges interest, and there is nothing sadder than losing freedom because of things that were preventable. Not perfect, preventable. Some people believe taking care of themselves is a luxury or vanity. Then they're surprised when climbing a flight of stairs becomes an event. Surprised when their mood collapses from pure physical exhaustion. surprised when their mind becomes foggy and their body heavy. As if energy were an endless gift. It isn't. Energy is a budget. If you waste it, one day the account runs dry. Here, discipline becomes a quiet form of self-respect. Sleeping well when you could stay up watching anything. Eating with a little judgment when you could live on cravings. Walking even when you don't feel like it. Moving your body even when pride tells you, "I'm too old for that." You're not too old to take care of yourself. Too old to pretend you're tough, maybe. The most important thing is understanding that you don't need to do anything extreme. What saves you in old age isn't bursts of motivation. It's boring consistency. What you do almost every day. A little strength so you don't lose stability. A little mobility so you don't rust. A little fresh air so your body remembers it's still alive. And yes, at the beginning it's hard, because the body complains. It always complains when you wake it up. And halfway through the journey comes the favorite excuse. It's too late. Are you really going to tell yourself that story with a straight face? Too late for what? Having the body of a 20-year-old? Of course, but you're not competing for that. You're competing for autonomy, for mental clarity, for being able to get up from a chair without asking for help, for carrying your own bags, for living without turning every small thing into a drama. Taking care of your energy also means taking care of what you consume internally. Food, yes, but also conversations, screens, news, pointless arguments. Some people feel exhausted and think it's age, when in reality they live drained by people who talk as if everything were a tragedy. If your mind lives in tension, your body pays the bill, and in old age the body collects quickly. Discipline isn't rigidity. It's respect for your future. It's making decisions today that your older self will thank you for. And sometimes that respect looks unpleasant because it means saying no. No to excess. No to habits that break you down. No to that miracle pill someone promised as a shortcut. The shortcut is almost always a trap, but people still insist on falling for it as if they were being paid to trip. Your body isn't decoration, it's your vehicle. And in old age, when everything becomes slower, having a well-maintained vehicle means having freedom. Freedom to move, freedom to decide, freedom not to live constantly asking, waiting, depending, and that freedom feels like dignity. Take disciplined care of your body and your energy, because that's what allows you to enjoy what you actually gained with the years. It makes no sense to reach the stage of life where you can finally choose calmly if you don't have the strength or spirit to live it. Strength in old age is not improvised, it's built. 3. Learn to practice emotional detachment. And be careful. I'm not talking about becoming cold, turning into stone, or playing the I don't need anyone role like a proud teenager. I'm talking about something more serious, more adult. I'm talking about stopping tying your peace to someone else's mood, about stopping asking for emotional permission to be okay. Because in old age, if you don't train this muscle, you become a hostage. A hostage to the child who calls only when they remember. A hostage to the partner who shows affection in seasons. A hostage to friends who appear only when they need something. And there you are, waiting for scraps with borrowed dignity, as if your life depended on a message. Emotional detachment is caring without grabbing someone by the throat, loving without manipulation, accompanying without begging. And yes, it hurts at first, because your mind is used to negotiating, to holding on to relationships with fear, to staying out of habit. But habit is not love, it's inertia, and inertia in old age costs you dearly, because it consumes energy you no longer have to waste. At some point it hits you. You realize there are people to whom you gave years, patience, attention, and still they don't look at you with respect. So what do? Stay there making even more effort, as if affection were a prize won by whoever insists the longest. That fantasy is for people who still have time to make mistakes. You're not there anymore. Epictetus, who was not a motivational influencer but a man born a slave who learned to be free inside, said something that stops you cold. Don't say I lost it. Say I returned it. He applied it to everything, even people, not because they don't matter, but because they don't belong to you. Today they're here, tomorrow they change, they leave, they fail you. And if you built your stability on someone's permanence, you're preparing your own collapse. And here comes the uncomfortable but useful part. Emotional detachment also means stopping acting as if your value depends on being necessary. There are parents who ruin themselves by continuing to help just to feel important. There are older people who insert themselves into other people's drama to avoid facing their own emptiness. Do you see what you're doing? You're buying company with sacrifice, and purchased company always comes defective. Practicing detachment means learning to be okay with yourself without that being a threat to anyone. It means being able to say, "I love you," without trembling over whether they'll respond. Being able to create distance without feeling guilty. Accepting that someone doesn't choose you without turning it into a sentence about your worth, because your worth is not voted on. Your worth is upheld. When you train this, something changes. You become more selective, calmer, harder to manipulate. Silence no longer scares you. Attention no longer controls you. Intermittent affection can't buy you. And that emotional freedom in old age is a kind of wealth that inflation cannot erase. 4. Set firm boundaries and choose your company wisely. This is not a whim, it's mental hygiene. Because at a certain age, your time is worth more. Your energy is worth more. Your peace is worth more. And yet there are still people who leave the door open for anyone to walk in and dirty the living room with their problems, their mistreatment, or their selfishness. Look, there's a lie that gets repeated often, that in old age you have to tolerate things because what else can you do? Because it's family, because that's just how they are. And yes, it sounds nice, until you realize that that's just how they are always ends up being an excuse for you to swallow poison in silence, as if your mission were to keep harmony while being disrespected. Firm boundaries are not shouting or threats. They're decisions, lines that are not negotiable. It's learning to say no without a long explanation, without speeches, without justifying yourself as if you were apologizing for existing. Because here's a very simple truth. Whoever respects you understands a boundary. Whoever gets angry was enjoying the advantage of you not having one. And in the middle of all this appears the question that terrifies many people to ask themselves: who stays close to you when they can no longer get anything from you? Who looks for you out of genuine pleasure, real affection, real admiration, and not utility or habit? It's not a cruel question, it's a clean one. It helps you see who adds something and who simply occupies space. Choosing your company well also means accepting that you don't need crowds. You don't need friends just to have them. You don't need empty conversations to avoid feeling alone. Solitude is not the enemy. Bad company is. The kind that leaves you more tired, more insecure, smaller. The kind that speaks to you with condescension. The kind that infantilizes you. The kind that uses you as an emotional dumping ground. And yes, sometimes you have to set boundaries with your own children, your siblings, people close to you. Not because you don't love them, but because you love yourself too. Because affection does not obligate you to tolerate abuse, chaos, or disrespect. And if someone tells you otherwise, they're selling you a full package of suffering wrapped in the paper of kindness. And what happens when you set boundaries? Some people leave, and that's where your character is tested. Because the part of you that wants to please will want to run after them to fix it, to explain, to recover the false peace. But that peace was expensive. You paid for it with dignity. And that bill over the years becomes impossible to pay. Choose your company wisely. Stay with those who speak to you directly without humiliating you. With those who respect you even when they disagree. With those who celebrate your calm instead of provoking you just to feel alive. And for the rest, courtesy and distance. Not out of hatred, but out of health. Because in old age, peace is not something you find. It's something you protect. 5. Train your mind and master your thoughts. Because if you reach old age with an undisciplined mind, you won't be aging. You'll be surviving on anxiety. And anxiety at this stage is not a bad day. It's a constant leak. It steals your sleep, your patience, your health. And worst of all, it convinces you that all of that is normal. The mind, when you don't train it, becomes a badly tuned radio. Noise, complaints, memories that come back to bite, invented future scenarios. You wake up and you're already arguing with someone in your head. You sit down to eat and you're replaying something someone said to you 10 years ago. And that's how life slips away. Not because of what happens, but because of what your mind keeps repeating. Seneca, who knew power, loss, and pressure, said it with a clarity that hasn't aged a day. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. And he said it like someone grabbing you by the shoulders to wake you up. Because it's true. In old age, many people aren't trapped in their situation. They're trapped in their interpretation of it. They turn everything into a tragedy in their minds and then act surprised that they live exhausted. The practice here is simple but not easy. Learn to observe the thought without obeying it. Let your mind say, "You're worthless," and you look at it the way you'd watch a barking dog pass by on the street. Let your mind say, "You're no good anymore," and answer with facts, not with debate. Because arguing with your thoughts is like arguing with a drunk. You'll get tired and you still won't win. And in the middle of the day, when that wave of worry hits you, ask yourself one honest question. Is what I'm thinking helping me live better, or is it just keeping me entertained in drama? Because some people don't want peace. They want intensity. It gives them an identity. They complain about feeling bad, but they cling to the poison because it's the only thing they know. Mastering your thoughts does not mean becoming insensitive. It means choosing what you let in and what you let stay. It means cutting off the habit of automatic complaint. It means stopping the mental review of who let you down just so you can punish yourself again. It means learning to tell yourself the truth without insulting yourself. Old age, when the mind is trained, becomes lighter, not because life stops being life, but because you stop adding extra weight to it. And when you manage that, you become one of those rare people who may have wrinkles, yes, but also have calm. Not the calm of someone who gives up, the calm of someone who governs himself. 6. Build a daily purpose and stay useful. Not out of cheap productivity, not to prove anything to anyone, but because a human being without purpose rots from the inside. He fades slowly. He becomes cynical. He becomes complaining and bitter. And then he says it's age, when really it's a lack of direction. Old age doesn't kill you. What kills you is feeling that you no longer matter, feeling like you're only waiting for someone to call, waiting for something to happen, waiting for night to come. And that waiting, day after day, is an elegant form of surrender. The body is still there, but the soul has already sat down in a chair and crossed its arms. Staying useful does not mean carrying the world on your back. It means having a reason to get up, something small, concrete, yours, a schedule, a responsibility, a task. Learn something, organize something, improve something. Do something for someone without turning yourself into a servant, because there is a huge difference between contributing and sacrificing yourself for approval. And here comes a very common trap, confusing purpose with being needed by others. There are older people who create chaos just to feel indispensable, as if love only exists when people are using them. Do you realize how little you're asking of yourself? You're reducing your value to being useful in the saddest sense of the word, the sense of being a resource. Daily purpose is an anchor. It gives you structure. It gives you dignity. It gives you an inner sense of continuity, that you are still building something even if the world no longer looks at you with the same urgency. And when you have that, you don't depend so much on validation. You don't depend so much on applause, because deep down you know that you are truly alive. It's not about doing great things. Sometimes purpose is taking care of your body with respect. Sometimes it's keeping your home in order so your mind can breathe. Sometimes it's being the person who listens without bitterness, who teaches without humiliating, who accompanies without dominating. That is usefulness too. In fact, that is the best kind. Build a daily purpose, because old age with direction feels like quiet authority, and old age without direction feels like a room with no windows. You choose where you're going to live inside. 7. Put your material life in order and protect your financial security. And no, this is not about becoming stingy or obsessing over accumulation. It's about something more basic. It's about not turning yourself into an easy target, because when you age, the world does not become kinder. It becomes more opportunistic. And if you are disorganized, if your papers are lost, if your accounts are in chaos, if you live improvising, someone will come along to help you. And that help almost always comes with a hidden bill. Financial security in old age is not about being rich. It's about being stable, about not living with your heart in your throat over every expense, about not depending on someone to lend to you, rescue you, or put up with you. There are older people who have no peace because every month is a roulette wheel, and the wheel always charges in energy, sleep, and pride. Putting your material life in order means doing what many avoid out of laziness or fear. Review your expenses, cut pointless leaks, pay off debts that have you by the throat, keep your documents in order, know what you have, what you owe, what comes in, what goes out. And if something is embarrassing for you to look at, that is precisely why you need to look at it. Because if you do not control your material life controls you. And in the middle of this subject comes a question that makes many people nervous. Do you really think chaos makes you freer? No. Chaos makes you dependent. It forces you to ask for favors. It makes you manipulable. It turns you into someone who has to smile at people they don't even like, just because they need something. That is not life. That is servitude dressed up as being nice. Musonius Rufus, a Roman teacher who spoke about discipline as if it were something ordinary, said it without romance. Whoever gets used to living simply does not fear poverty, because he learns that well-being does not depend on abundance. And it's true. When you reduce your need for things, you also reduce your fear. And when you reduce your fear, you recover your posture. Protect your financial security the way you protect your home. Don't wait for the fire to buy the extinguisher. Have a plan, have margins, have clarity. And if today you still have time to fix it, because old age with clear accounts feels like rest. Old age with disorder feels like a constant threat. 8. Simplify your life and reduce your needs. This is what many people struggle with because they confuse having with living. They fill themselves with things, commitments, borrowed problems, routines they no longer enjoy, and then say life feels heavy. Of course it does if you're carrying it like an endless move. Simplifying is not poverty, it is intelligence. It is looking at your life and asking what truly adds something and what is only taking up space. Because there comes an age when excess no longer looks like success. It looks like noise. Too many objects, too many calls, too many obligations, too many people giving opinions, too many expectations, and your mind there trying to breathe through all that emotional and material clutter. Reducing your needs also means cutting off the invisible blackmail of, I have to. You do not have to be available all the time. You do not have to go everywhere. You do not have to stay in conversations that drain you. You do not have to keep buying things to fill a void that shopping will never fill. And yes, sometimes you'll have to put up with the usual comment. You've become bitter. You're not the same anymore. No, you haven't become bitter. You've become selective. That is very different. Simplifying means learning to live with less friction, less inner conflict, less accumulation, less complication that you invented yourself by trying to maintain an image. And when you do that, something happens. Life becomes lighter without becoming empty, because what remains because it has value, not because of habit. Old age is enjoyed better when you are not enslaved by your own needs. When you need little, little is owed to you. When you need little, people manipulate you less. When you need little, peace becomes a daily choice, not a rare prize. Simplify, reduce, clear things out, not to disappear but to live with more room to breathe. 9. Defend your dignity and preserve your inner freedom. This is the principle that holds everything together, because when your strength starts to go, when the world becomes more impatient with you, when some people look at you as if you have nothing left to offer, dignity becomes your last frontier. And if you do not defend it, no one is going to come do it for you as an act of charity. Many people grow old believing that peace means avoiding conflict. So they swallow their words, accept disrespect to avoid problems, let others invade them, order them around, use them. And then they wonder why they feel small. Because every time you give in on what is essential just to keep people happy, you are teaching yourself that your value is negotiable. Defending your dignity does not mean becoming aggressive. It means becoming clear. It means stopping the reflex smile when something hurts you. It means cutting off the joke that humiliates you. It means not allowing people to talk to you like a child. It means not accepting advice that is really control in disguise. And yes, sometimes that makes people uncomfortable. Because when you start to grow a spine, the person who was comfortable with your softness gets angry. And here is a question that is worth gold in old age, even if it stings a little. Are you really going to hand over your final years to the approval of people who do not even respect themselves? Because there are people who approach you with a smile, but inside they want you manageable. They want you grateful for scraps. They want you easy to squeeze with guilt. And if you can't see that, you become a toy. Preserving your inner freedom means understanding that they may touch your body, your routine, your plans, but not your judgment. Viktor Frankl, who survived the worst and still came out with his head held high, summed it up in a line that is not meant to be hung on a wall but lived. Even when almost everything is taken from you, one final freedom remains: to choose who you decide to be in the face of what happens to you. That is inner freedom. Not a pretty concept, but a daily decision. And that decision shows up in concrete things: in not begging for love, in not buying affection with sacrifice, in not allowing people to control you with fear, in not becoming a prisoner of your own need to please. Because tell me honestly, how many times have you said yes just to avoid someone getting upset? And then you're left with that bitter feeling of having betrayed yourself, as if you had sold yourself cheaply. Strong old age is not the one that shouts, "I'm in charge." It is the one that does not kneel inside. It is the one that can say, "Not this," calmly, without theater, without insults, but with firmness. It is the one that walks away when the environment is beneath its dignity. It is the one that chooses silence when noise wants to drag it in. And that does not isolate you. It protects you. Defend your dignity, because it is your identity without makeup. And preserve your inner freedom, because it is the only thing no one can give you and no one can take from you, unless you hand it over yourself. When you understand this, you no longer arrive at old age as someone hoping to be treated well. You arrive as someone who treats himself well, and from there the world either adjusts or stays outside. If you want a happy and strong old age, it is not about having everything in the world around you. It is about not losing yourself within. Time moves forward, the body changes, people come and go, but you can grow old with calm if you govern yourself, take care of yourself. Choose wisely, simplify, and hold your dignity as something sacred, not as an accessory. Now bring it into real life. Today, without waiting for a sign, choose one thing you are going to do differently to protect your peace. It might be putting one habit in order, closing a door that is no longer good for you, setting a boundary without guilt, or stopping yourself from feeding a thought that is aging you from the inside. Don't do it to prove anything. Do it so that tomorrow's version of you has less weight to carry and more freedom. If this message put you in your place in the right way, subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a comment with the channel's phrase, "I am Stoic." And if you want, tell me what country you're watching from, so together we can keep making this garden bigger and stronger, with people who did not come to beg for peace but to build it. Gabriel here. This is the Stoic Garden. On your screen, 2 recommended videos are about to appear so you can keep going deeper, because this work is not understood in a day. It is trained. Keep going, choose one, and keep walking with your head held high. No one gives you character, you earn it. See you in the next video.